this morning? Well, we'll have to find out, won't we? Well, we'll find out if there's bricks. Maybe. So, the story I'm going to tell you this morning, we actually have to start by looking at last Sunday, because none of you were actually here last Sunday, and so I'm just going to... On Palm Sunday? So I'm just going to do a really quick start there, but of course we know where this story happens, right? Because we've got this to tell us. The desert, Holy Land, the land where Jesus was born and lived and told people about God and taught people how to live. And so we begin with Jesus, and Jesus felt God in his heart. And he felt God so much that it was almost like his heart filled his whole body. That's how much he felt God. And he loved God deeply. And he wanted the whole world, he wanted everyone to have that feeling about God. And he wanted everyone to be free, to be able to love God that way. And what happened is that other people liked what he said, and they started to follow him. All kinds of people. Men and women and children all started to follow him wherever he went because they loved what he said. And these people started, and there were lots of them, there were hundreds of them, they wished, their wish, if they could make a wish on a birthday cake, their wish would have been for Jesus to be the king of the world because of the way he lived. But the king in this particular area was a guy named Pilate. And last week we met Pilate as he came into Jerusalem. And Pilate was in charge. He was the one that had to make sure that no trouble happened anywhere, that people behaved themselves. And he did that by having a big army. And so Pilate didn't want Jesus to be king, didn't want Jesus to rule, because that means that he wouldn't. So what happened during the week, that was last Sunday, what happened during the week is that Jesus was arrested, and he was put on trial, and he was found guilty, and they killed him. Killed him. That's a really good question. Why would they do that? Someone who was so good. But they did. And after he died, he was put in a tomb. And a tomb is a carved out part of the rock. And a big stone was rolled in front of the tomb to close the entrance. And all of his followers, they all ran away. They went away and hid because they were afraid the same thing might happen to them. But a few days later, some other of Jesus' followers, a woman named Mary Magdalene, and another woman named Mary, who was the mother of James, one of the disciples, and another woman named Salome, decided that they wanted to go to where Jesus was buried, and they brought with them some oil because they wanted to anoint his body with the oil, because that's what they did in those days. But they were really worried because As they were walking to the tomb, they thought, how are we going to get in? Because there's that great big stone in front of the tomb. How are we going to possibly get in? But when they got there, the stone had been rolled away. And they came and they looked, and they couldn't believe that the tomb was there. But when they looked in, Jesus wasn't there either. The body was gone. And they were thinking, where could his body be? And then all of a sudden, according to the story, there was a young man dressed in white that just appeared at the tomb. And he said, don't be afraid, don't be alarmed. Jesus is not here. Just look around, though, because his spirit is everywhere. His heart that was so full of God is everywhere. Jesus is alive. The women didn't know what to do. But as they left, they started looking for signs of Jesus. I wonder what a sign of Jesus would look like. What do you think, Keegan? Compassion? Yeah, you just might be right about that. I wonder what other signs of Jesus would look like. I wonder if a hug might be a sign of Jesus. Or I wonder if helping someone might be a sign of Jesus. I wonder if planting a flower or a carrot seed might be a sign of Jesus.
Or maybe a wind blowing.
Or the wind blowing. Yeah, that could be a sign. The wind was really blowing this morning. Well, I think what we need to do is try and look for signs of Jesus. And as we do that, we're going to sing a song which I love called Hey Now, Singin' Hallelujah. And I'm going to invite you to join me in that song.